Hello everyone, and welcome to this next video discussion as part of the RICS Tech Partner Programme. My name is Andrew Knight. I've been with RICS for nearly 11 years now, and my role is to look at the effect of data and technology right across the built and natural environment, with over 130,000 members worldwide, working in commercial, residential, land, infrastructure, right across the property life cycle. The impact of data and tech is profound, both in terms of its opportunities and also understanding any potential risks that we need to manage. And today I'm really glad to have Wayne Herbert joining me from AI Assets. So Wayne, do join me.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello Wayne, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. Well, the first question I always like to ask, whilst this is all about data and technology, I'm always really keen to kind of bring alive our tech partners in terms of the origin story and the people. So it'd be great to understand how AI Assets started and you and your colleagues' background and the kind of skills and experience you bring to the party.
Yeah, certainly. So it sort of stemmed from my background being a building consultant. So going onto site, with a notepad and a camera, collecting physical asset data, for your typical asset registers, condition audits, life cycle planning, planned preventative maintenance. And just the time it takes to do all of that, to get good quality, to collaborate it all, generate the reports, etc. So, over 25 years, I've been doing that sort of work. And tried different systems, different form builders, whatever else was there. It always ended up coming back to trying to collaborate and build an Excel worksheet to get your models and everything else from. So that's really where I started. The idea came to go, there's got to be an easy way, let's build a platform.
Yeah.
So that really started, the platform building started almost 10 years ago.
All right.
And been a steady process. So obviously building it when money allowed, to do that, refining it, working with other building consultants, getting them to use the platform, getting their feedback and really refining it to where it is today.
So, I mean, you mentioned the context of the kind of data you were collecting there. In a kind of a simple form, what's the problem you're solving and what does AI Assets do to solve that problem?
Yeah, it's really about capturing easily good quality building asset data. So, from your aircon equipment, your HVAC, your plant, your building services, to even the finishes, the building fabrics, in an efficient manner. As I'm sure a number of your listeners will be well aware, when they go to site, it's quite cumbersome. You jot down what notes you can, you try and then collaborate it also. We've really streamlined that process so you can save pretty much 80% of your project time to do that.
So, I mean, I'm sure most people are familiar with, the concept of computerized maintenance management systems and work order systems. What are you kind of doing differently to those kind of perhaps more traditional approaches?
Yeah, so those type of systems, we really benefit them. We make them super powered. So they typically come with, with that, you have to put your asset register and asset data into those systems. And they're there for the workflows. Something breaks down, we'll log a work order. We'll run it to the, it goes to the contractor. The contractor goes out to site, does it, signs off on it, goes through to invoicing. We're not those systems. We're sort of the system before. So we help get that good quality database into the system, but then also to maintain that database. So that's really how we're different from the current CMMS workflow systems. And then obviously there's the audit tools that are out there that are starting to appear from the prop tech sort of sector, which are typically form builders or a few other type of systems that are out there. We just got a much more streamlined process.
So obviously you've got a long heritage at the kind of sharp end of the business, if I can use that phrase. Who have you had in mind and who have you built it for, if you think of the kind of personas of the people who are actually out there and the kind of assets they're dealing with?
Yeah, originally it was for people like me, building consultants. So you're building surveyors, you're building consultants, those that have to go on site to capture physical asset data. But it's sort of evolved now, and it's really more as well building owners. And we're talking to a number of building owners in Australia currently. So the Woolworths Group, not the UK Woolworths Group from years ago, but the large supermarket chain here. Also the Centre Group who own Westfield, AMP Capital. We're talking to all these guys because they have, there's building owners, they need to know what their data is, and they want to now start owning the data as opposed to the third party, providers that look after their facilities. They're now saying, hold on, this is our data. If we switch provider, we shouldn't lose our data, which has been a big issue throughout time.
So what is an obvious comment to make? What's the importance of good quality property data? How does that show itself? How do we really understand the benefits of getting certain items of data in a much better way, in a much more kind of high quality way?
Yeah, it's really more about your expenditure, your budgets, and that type of stuff. You're going to be much more accurate than the old-fashioned way, which was finger in the air and what's the number to replace this? You got if you know the actual a lot of the data has been done on square meter rates, that type of stuff. But if you know your actual physical assets, when they was installed, what their expected life is, you can really get a lot more accurate budgets. So then you avoid budget blowouts in the future from unknown issues. And obviously, on another side from that, the industry's very much been a reactive nature. And it's obviously moving more towards the preventative and proactive sort of nature. But to do that, you really need to have good quality data and up to date and keeping it up to date.
Now, obviously, you mentioned you've been in this business a long time, and I think you almost used the phrase that it was incredibly unproductive going around collecting data, very manual, and obviously there's been some degree of computerization that with other approaches. But how's your approach at AI Assets different in terms of the way you're collecting this data? Because obviously it's about productivity. It's presumably about quite large portfolios where there's a lot of assets that are already there that you need to try and capture data on quickly but accurately. So what are you doing differently that's giving that productivity
Yeah.
gain?
Yeah, so the process we've got is it's a two-part process. So you use an app in the field. So your simple app on your mobile tablets, soon to be mobile phones as well. And that's a three-step structure. So you basically select the space you're assessing. You have templates then to say what are the assets in, and then you've got the details that you put on. So it really does streamline it. There's a few apps out there that have appeared in the last few years, and some a little bit longer. Typically, it's still fairly cumbersome, like your old pen and paper method. You're doing a single asset at a time. So you're selecting the asset, you're putting all the details, then you're going back, you're selecting. As is a very streamlined process. So within a matter of seconds, or a matter of minutes, not quite seconds, depending on how big your space is. Probably 1 or 2 minutes though, not long at all. You do the whole room with all of the asset data down to a detail. So that's adding tasks, conditions, photographs, any attributes like your makes, models, all of that sort of stuff. So in a matter of seconds, and then basically once you've done that, you synchronize it to the cloud, and that's it. Your job's pretty much finished. We've got a number of reports that the system generates. We've got a central database with over 1,800 building assets, each with capital replacement costs, life cycle expectancies, replacement and maintenance tasks all in there. So you've got no going back to the office to go through an Excel sheet for a number of days trying to compile it. It's basically there ready for anyone, anywhere in the world, instantaneously. I will say you still need somebody qualified, so a member of RICS or somebody, because it's still a computer. You've still got to run your eye over it, do your clarity, and make a few little adjustments. But it really does, smash the time limit involved.
So as you say, it's as ever about augmenting what the professionals do, not replacing them in that sense. It's just making it even more productive.
Exactly right. It's just making it a bit easier for professionals to say, here's the grunt work, now put your expertise to it.
Exactly. And without getting to real detail on bits and bytes, what kind of technology are you using to kind of speed up the recognition of assets and make that collection process quicker? Because presumably there's some clever technology that's helping and recognizing some of the assets within a room, for example.
Yeah, so at the moment it's pretty much on the apps, so on your iPad or your Android tablets, and then a cloud database, which is pretty powerful in there, and we're bringing more smarts in. So at the moment we've got your barcode scanners if companies do barcode tagging and tracking. We've got that side of things in there, but we're really looking at bringing forward the artificial intelligence side of it. So the system being more predictive and doing that side. So the future's really bright in that area. So being able to scan assets, and the system identifies what the asset is for you, and can bring in the make, the model, that type of stuff. So really speeding that up.
So as you say, productivity will get even better, and the quality presumably will be even better as well once you have that kind of recognition.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, improving all of those. Tag labels. Your manufacturer's labels. With scanning those and automatically putting in all that data to save the manual inputs and all of that. So we've already got voice recognition in there as well, so you can talk to it for any entries.
All right, so automatically capturing as you walk through an asset in that way. So you mentioned Woolworths. What kind of organisations are using it, and for what kind of particular use cases or particular asset types?
Yeah, so we've got a big mix actually. So obviously the Woolworths Group, which is the largest supermarket chain in Australia, over 2,000 supermarkets and off licenses and different stores they own in their portfolio. So they used it to capture over 2 million assets through an asset tagging program. So there's one client case. We've got a number of universities that have used the system for doing asset registers and condition audits and their life cycle modeling, so CapEx and your OpEx. And
Hmm.
obviously that leads into your planned preventative maintenance, which I know the RICS have just put a good white paper out in
Yes.
regards to. So yeah, our tech certainly helps in that area. Then we've got a number of building consultants over in Australia that use it throughout their client portfolio to do whole of life reviews on property portfolios. Um, big maintenance companies like Spotless. Do you get Spotless in the UK?
It doesn't ring a bell, actually, no.
No, they're like a maintenance service provider. So they service they do the hard and soft FM for
All right.
hospitals, schools, that type of area. Yeah,
So
so
as ever,
it's really quite
it's quite a wide and broad set of assets in that respect, isn't it?
yeah, everybody needs data basically. So it's
Yeah.
how do you get it? And it's the easiest way.
Now, I mean, we've talked about some kind of future enhancements already, but where do you see the kind of the roadmap for AI assets over the next few years as you begin to improve the productivity and efficiency of what the solution's doing?
Yeah, so obviously where we are now, we're looking at them bringing in the artificial intelligence, like I say earlier, to bring in that stuff. And I'm also looking at augmented reality and virtual reality, um, linking also to like the likes of digital twins. So obviously,
Mm,
digital twins is a bit of a buzzword at the minute, but it's
yeah.
just a nice, the way I see it, it's a nice visual of your building, but there's no data. So the way, with that, with what we're collecting, putting that data into the digital twins, it's just going to add a lot more power to the digital twin environment and that world.
I mean, I don't know whether it's a similar thing, but I've seen, in terms of that augmented reality examples where, I mean, this was from the automotive industry where I think it was a BMW mechanic could look at a vehicle and up would come the manual on his goggles sort of thing. Do you foresee that kind of thing where you could
Yeah,
integrate,
that's pretty much exactly the
manufacturers'
type of.
manuals and specs, and so you look at an HVAC unit and up would come on the goggles, maintenance records and that kind of stuff. Do you see that direction happening?
Yes, without a doubt. So that's part of the digital twins, obviously, is then converting that to the augmented or mixed reality, or there's a few different types that you can use it in.
Mm.
So really looking to add that data in there, and then, like you say, linking then our data to the manufacturer's data, and really bringing that big depth of data to the user. So you've got a virtual world with all your built assets in it, and also the data behind big the big data sets.
So, I mean, in general terms, where do you see the industry heading, either in Australia and indeed other markets that you're looking at? What's the direction of travel?
Yeah, it's obviously tech is the big thing. So it's typically been an industry, as everyone knows, that's not been very big on tech and sort of left behind. But the prop tech, this is why we're here, has boomed in the last few years. And typically the way it's been done is we mentioned briefly before the CMMS systems and workflows.
Mm.
They're big systems. They try and do everything. I think it's now more about collaboration. So
Yeah.
people like ourselves that work and specialize in one item, we don't say we're going to offer all this. We've got no interest in offering work orders and that type of stuff. We want to link to the work order systems. So I think it's really going to be more about collaboration between people that specialize on one item or one or two items. And that's really the way it's going to go. And it's going to be a big benefit to the whole industry because you can pick and choose the bits that you need.
And I suppose what also is really important here, because I mean, I talk to a lot of people, and we obviously talk about the subject of ESG, which is very, very, high in people's agenda in terms of sustainability and understanding how to operate buildings more efficiently. And I guess one of the big issues there is that so many buildings that we need to kind of get to be more efficient are already built. So it's not about building shiny new buildings, is it? It's that kind of retrospective going into assets that are already in existence and working out how to optimize them and how to run them more efficiently. So I suppose that's another area where this kind of bolting together the best of breed systems is so important because we can't rely on brand new smart buildings, can we, in every case? So
No, that's exactly right. As you know, a big area at the moment is the net zero approach, but it's like you say, a lot of the buildings are already existing.
mm,
So how do you get to net zero? Your first step is you need to know what you own and what it's emitting. So yeah, it's coming back to the main thing, which is data. It's all about data, and good quality.
And are you hearing your clients really kind of articulating that ESG net zero, the fact that they're not only wanting to maintain their buildings, but they're perhaps under pressure from a reporting perspective, or that they just need to make sure that they are being more energy efficient and more sustainable?
Yeah, very much so. Nearly every client, is talking about that's on the back of their mind, or well, not so much the back of their mind, more the forefront of their mind now.
Yeah,
Is that's where they really need to get to, and we're working with closely with the Neighbours
oh
ratings. I
yeah,
think we've got the Neighbours over in the UK now, which originally came from here. So the company that developed that, we're working closely with them to get that into our system. So they've already done a couple of reports along the energy efficiency side using the system, and that's another area we're going to be looking at. Where can we get the benefits from the data we're collecting to get to the energy side, and getting buildings to net zero.
yeah. And of course, with Neighbours, you get that additional benefit. It's not just looking at theoretical performance. There's that monitoring, ongoing element of Neighbours, isn't there, to make sure that that performance gap is not is not seen. That you do get that sense of really, well, is the building actually operating as well as it could do?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly right. It can't just be about achieving net zero. Are we, especially in this day and age where the buildings aren't, offices and the like aren't getting used as much thanks to COVID. People are
Yeah,
working from home, so it's not that the office is running net zero. Is it running optimally and efficiently? When it needs to.
great. And in terms of your sort of market plans, are you still very much a sort of Oceania, Australia, or do you have ambitions to be moving into different markets?
No, very much ambitions this year. So coming to a town near you, I guess you could say. Yeah, we've already got plans in or things in process in the UK and the US. Talking with a team over in the UK that we're looking to be there in the next few months. To be honest,
Good.
I'd probably say middle of the year, July sort of time. But we're in the stages now, and we're also we are looking for partners in that builder consultancy area for the early discussions to see if it's things that they can add to their bow and offer to their
Yeah.
clients. Because the benefits, even if they don't do this specifically, it's very easy because of the system makes it so easy to add this to their service offering to their clients. And as I say, the number of projects we do, you can look at 40 to 50% profit on the project because of the time savings. That's how big it is. So it is really beneficial for people. So yeah, the UK this year. If we know any QS teams that can help us build the database, because obviously we need to get it aligned to the UK market. So feet and
Yeah.
inches instead of meters and centimeters and pounds instead of dollars. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to talk with people that can help us in that area as well. And then yeah, also the US. We're already talking to a team that can help us expand into the
All right.
US also this year. So yeah, we've got big aspirations this year to be expanding.
No, and I suppose it's one of those applications that is fairly general and generic, isn't it, Wayne? In the sense that yes, there are different building pathologies around the world, and perhaps you'll bump into different asset types in terms of the manufacturers, but broadly, you're looking at the same kind of
Yeah.
issues, really, aren't you?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And if it's just for a basic asset register without the life cycle and that type of thing, if it's just for a basic asset register, well, it's ready to go global. Anybody
Mm,
can download it. It's on it's on the App Store. You just access it through a web browser. So for a basic asset register, it's already global, basically.
yeah. No, and I suppose that's almost a good point to finish on, because one of the things we always are very mindful is that the majority of our members are working in smaller practices. So technology needs to be, not only from a price perspective, but also tech-wise, it needs to be accessible. You don't need to have huge IT teams. You should be able to use these things on an app. It should be fairly accessible, as you say, to use on a tablet and not have to, have barriers to entry that will stop smaller practices getting involved, because so many of, as say, our members are working in those smaller practices. So
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, it is. It should be accessible, and from my frustrations, that's why we've done a very cost-effective price model for it.
mm,
So it's a really low monthly user fee because we know that people need to use it and it's got to be open for everyone.
exactly. Well, it's been great to talk, and I look forward to catching up with you later in the year and see how the expansion is going, and see how the market's developing, and seeing how you're using more and more technology to augment surveyors, not replace them, as we discussed earlier. But for the moment, Wayne, it's been great to talk, and look forward to catching up with you later in the year.
Lovely to talk, Andrew, and yeah, look forward to catching up next time.